Somalia, where Kenyan soldiers claim to have killed at least 21 Al-Shabaab militants in a firefight in the lower Juba region. The soldiers recovered weapons including rifles, rocket-propelled grenades and a pistol. The Kenyan soldiers were on their way to Afmadow when they engaged militants who had laid an ambush along the road. 2 Kenyan soldiers were killed. 5 others were also injured in the shootout. The militants had planned to attack a camp occupied by the African forces and Somali National Army troops. Now, the KDF also killed 19 Al-Shabaab militants in Afmadow on Wednesday last week. Well, let's bring you now more on that assault on Al-Shabaab. We're joined by Abdulaziz Billo, live for us in the Somali capital, Mogadishu. Abdulaziz, just first of all, what more can you tell us about this latest attack? Have the casualties, as claimed by KDF, been confirmed?
Well, Lindy, the Al-Shabaab is actually feeling the heat in the past few days following the latest drone attack on its base in central Somalia. It seems that the African Union forces and the Somali army are actually having a strong presence now in areas that once were controlled by Al-Shabaab. Now, the militant group suffered heavy losses in the past week, and the Kenyan military were part of the African Union forces. Almost 40 militants were killed in a span of less than a week. Now, most recently on Wednesday, the Kenyan military were part of the African Union forces in the lower Juba region of southern Somalia, killed at least 19 militants. Now, what the Kenyan military is saying is that these militants were planning to attack either one base that is run by AMISOM and the other one that is run by the Somali National Army. Now, the attack took place in the town of Afmadow. Afmadow is in the lower Juba region of southern Somalia. So that is the information that the Kenyan authorities are actually providing, and also the Somali National Army in that part of the country. Now, interestingly is that the militant group here on Saturday evening said that it launched another surprise attack on the Kenyan forces. Now, this information is still not yet verified by AMISOM and by the Somali government here, but the Al-Shabaab is saying that it managed to kill at least 12 Kenyan soldiers in that ambush, and it managed to capture 4 Kenyan soldiers also in that ambush. Now, it's saying that the ambush took place in an area called in between Afmadow and Kokani. Now, these 2 areas are under the control of the AMISOM forces and the Somali military. So basically, we are following this information here, but there is no verification yet as to whether these claims are true by the Al-Shabaab.
Right, well now, of course, Abdulaziz, as you said, the Al-Shabaab has suffered heavy losses in just this past week. Are we seeing a swing in the dynamics in terms of AMISOM's war against Al-Shabaab? And what is AMISOM saying about its own capabilities against the militants?
Well, Lindy, you're right. The African Union mission in Somalia here, AMISOM is saying that it's actually going to launch a major offensive and manage to push back the militants from the areas that it still controls. Now, AMISOM and the Somali government most recently liberated quite a number of small towns and villages that fall under southern Somalia. So definitely, this is some good news for AMISOM and the Somali government, the fact that AMISOM and the government forces are actually liberating more towns and more villages. So basically, that is the challenge that is facing the AMISOM soldiers. Now, in an interview with the head of the African Union, head of mission here in Somalia, Ambassador Francisco Madera, he actually underlined quite a number of issues that his forces are actually facing. One of them is the funding cut by the European Union by 20%. One other issue that Ambassador Madera raised is the need of cooperation between the Somali National Army and AMISOM so that they can better fight the Al-Shabaab and better liberate these areas. So one other aspect that Ambassador Madera also said is that countries that offer troops to AMISOM, these are called the troop contributing countries, they need to provide aerial capabilities to AMISOM so that they can better to solidify the areas once they capture it from the Al-Shabaab.
First of all, it's not about benefiting. It is about us having the same vision of the enemy. It's about us understanding clearly what are the current operational methods of the enemy, its tactical approaches, and it's about us being prepared to face the enemy in terms of training, in terms of coordination, in terms of intelligence gathering, and in terms of effectiveness on the ground, in terms of fighting. So we need to see where we can complement each other where our weaknesses are and how we can strengthen them and move forward.
We've witnessed 3 deadly attacks on 3 African Union bases in a span of less than a year. How has this affected the operation of AMISOM?
Enemy attacks have got many objectives, and some of them are attained, others are not. What is important for us is that we have realized that the enemy was using different tactics than the ones that it used before. But now we have adjusted to those tactics. And as much as it is possible, we will avoid such situations being repeated.
The United States carried out a drone strike in central Somalia, killing more than 150 Al-Shabaab fighters. Now, AMISOM has over the years said that it doesn't enjoy the aerial capability. So, in your view, and according to the AMISOM operations, do you think that aerial power is the next phase of this war?
There was this Djibouti summit. The heads of state of troop contributing countries have analyzed the operational capacities of AMISOM, and it came to a clear conclusion that there was need for air assets and other enablers. And a decision was taken to the effect that the troop contributing countries should also put at the disposal of AMISOM air assets. And these air assets are going to come. But of course, it's not just about air assets. It's also about anti-IED capacity to detect and demine. It is about mobility. It is about the possibility of being sure that we have the adequate intelligence to know the whereabouts of the enemy and take him up. Of course, the air assets are going to be of great help because they will increase the mobility of our forces. They will allow us to surprise the enemy. And since this is an asymmetric warfare, intelligence and surprise and speed are very important elements, and surely air assets are going to help.
Well, thank you for staying with us, Abdulaziz. Let's go back to you now again. Of course, there were earlier reports that authorities in Puntland had placed a siege around hundreds of Al-Shabaab fighters who had amassed in that region. Just what is the latest on that front?
Well, Lindy, on the front in Puntland is the Puntland authorities are saying that they have managed actually to push out and to push back the militants from the strategic Suj Valley. Now, Suj Valley is the first area where Al-Shabaab managed to enter Puntland from apart from Gara'at, that is on the coastal village in the Puntland region. So authorities there say that they have managed to kill more than 20 militants and that they have arrested 4 who are being investigated, and they're giving more information to authorities on the whereabouts of their other friends. But as we speak right now, we have talked to people on the ground in the coastal villages of Gara'at, where fresh fighting has commenced there. Now, the Minister of Security of Puntland has said that they have managed to remove the Al-Shabaab from the place called Suj, that is the valley. But now they are pushing them out of Gara'at, that is the first area that they seized on Tuesday once they left the place they came from. So authorities there are saying that they have encircled the militants, they have blockaded them, they have no food to eat, they have any manpower. So basically they are saying the number of fighters who entered that region is 250, and their plan was either to join the other militants who are fighting in the other region of Galgala. But authorities they are saying that they have managed to intercept them, and they have opened 2 fronts. Now one of the fronts has already been finished. The government forces, they have pushed out the Al-Shabaab, so they are saying that the offensive is based on around the Gara'at area of the coastal village of Puntland. But very soon they will be able to give us more information on this attack. But we are following these military advances there, and most definitely we'll keep tabs on this story.
Thank you very much. Abdulaziz Bilo live for us there with that update in Mogadishu, Somalia.